Hello and welcome to Cohasset Political Society Show. I'm your host, Marcus Rowland. Tonight we will be covering the previous government shutdown and Brexit. But to start with, Elizabeth Warren and her 2020 presidential bid. Even though the election remains well over a year and a half away, Warren has thrown her hat into the ring. Elizabeth Warren's primary plan for election is based on her career, her work in the Senate, where she has tried and lobbied to enact laws in order to support middle-class families. She holds up her roots in her own upbringing of a middle-class family. Her plan is to echo many of those who have come before her. This surrounds rebuilding the middle class and lifting up America. She has a video announcing her candidacy that includes a compilation of home videos. These videos include her young children and the rest of her family. She proposes making the playing field fair, giving everyone an equal opportunity, a world where if you work hard and by the rules, you gain. Her goal seems to poke holes in the wealthy. She believes in making minimum wage jobs livable wage jobs. She shows how the share of income for families in the middle class has fallen significantly. She turns to minorities and points out the even greater uphill battle that they face. This point may lead to her greatest criticism, as her DNA testing shows she is not nearly as Native American as she claims to be. Senator Warren faces an uphill battle to the presidency. There are several other candidates from the Democratic side: John Danley, Richard Ojed, and Jay Inslee. These candidates, though, have not been slated for a presidential run nearly as long as Elizabeth Warren. On the other side of the aisle, there have been no officially announced candidates yet. So far, it looks like Trump will be an uncontested incumbent. However, with low polling numbers, there is a chance that someone else will throw their hat into the ring. I'd like to turn to our panelists for some debate on the 2020 election and Elizabeth Warren. I'd like to pivot over to our panel for some debate. So on the left, we have Nina Masosha and Sam Kefalinos, and on the right, we have John Keenan and Sean Thornton. So I'd like to open it up with Elizabeth Warren and what people think about her chances are for winning the Democratic nominee.
I personally think that she's going to win the Democratic nomination because I think she is the most well qualified out of all of the Democratic candidates that I know of.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to talk about this? Or do you want to?
It's up to you. Yeah, you can.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. It just really depends because, like a lot of people, definitely, especially outside of New England, viewers like very extreme, and she is very extreme. But I think like if you think about Trump, he also is very extreme in like conservative views. So it could pan out that way that she does receive the nomination.
What do you for the Republicans think about one Warren candidate? Do you think Trump has a good matchup against her?
Oh, he'd crush her. He'd probably get one of the biggest landslides in history. I mean, Warren is probably the most flawed candidate out of anyone that's announced their candidacy thus far. And I mean, she plays into Trump's hand like putty with her Native American DNA test results that she released.
Didn't he ask for it though?
Well, yeah, because he's mocking her. I would mock her.
I don't know if it's right for a president to mock someone. It's not exactly presidential or proper for his stature.
I think everyone's mocked Elizabeth Warren. She is an easy target. You could be like, why are you punching down? I mean, this lady's obviously probably has some mental problems because she's not Native American, but...
Are you claiming that Elizabeth Warren has mental problems?
I don't know why she would... I don't know what logical reason either for why she would put that she's Native American on any of her applications for colleges.
I think that she is a strong candidate in that her beliefs are very reflective like of the current democratic beliefs. Like she's very strong in her beliefs, like right to education, things like that, like and like everybody has a right to have good health and things like that. But just I do agree with you in that she gets very angry at Trump, and because of that she lets her anger get the best of her and definitely does play into his hand often. So that would be interesting.
I agree with that too.
Something that's been floating around is the idea that all of the Democratic candidates would have a single-payer healthcare system as part of their campaign. Do you think that this is likely to be part of campaigns, or?
I think it's definitely part of the campaigns. All of them that I know so far that have announced have spoken kindly towards Medicare for All, Bernie Sanders' plan. The question is whether how the voters will feel, I'd say generally people don't like it when you touch healthcare. So it could result in some backlash. It depends on how well Trump is able to talk about that.
I do almost agree with that. I think that it definitely is something the Democrats have been pushing for a while, and they're going to continue to push, especially if a Democrat gets elected president in 2020. But I also think the rhetoric of like the current administration, like over and over, they keep saying Venezuela, Venezuela, look at Venezuela, socialism, healthcare, things like that. And I think that has been working on the American people to some extent. And while a lot of people still like do encourage universal healthcare, people are starting to kind of move away from that because they're afraid of it.
I think Venezuela has bigger issues to worry about right now than healthcare, to be honest. But that's just me. So, do you think any Republicans will end up challenging Trump for a nominee?
Let Sean take this.
I think that some definitely will, but I'm not sure who. Maybe Mitt Romney will run again.
Personally, I don't think Trump's gonna get any strong primary challenge, considering he's 90% approval rating among Republicans. So that's not really, there's no really coalition you can build there when you only get 10% of the vote.
I think it depends on how the rest of his term goes, because I mean his approval dropped by a significant amount during the government shutdown.
That was among independents. His poll numbers among Republicans have been stable.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. We will pivot on into our next one. I would now like to pivot to the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The shutdown recently came to a close, but not after a 35-day hiatus from a functioning government. The shutdown was over a disagreement between President Trump and House Democrats surrounding the funding of a border wall. This wall was an important point to the Trump campaign and was accompanied by the phrase, "Mexico will pay for it." However, it does not seem likely that the president thought this would be true, because he turned to the U.S. government to provide the funding for his border wall. The Democrats, unwilling to provide the necessary $5 billion, refused. A 35-day stalemate between the two sides followed, neither willing to budge. In the end, Trump caved and signed a funding bill that did not include his necessary funds for a border wall. The bill signed only provides funds for 3 weeks. This leaves time for lawmakers to make the necessary decisions that surround border security, although few are interested in finding money for the actual wall. Trump, true to his campaign, intends to have this wall built. He has threatened using his executive powers to declare a national emergency surrounding the southern border. Whether or not this comes to pass is another matter entirely. He has also threatened to shut down the government again if the next funding bill does not give him the necessary funds. Trump's request of $5 billion does seem like a lot, but according to a Congressional Budget Office study, $8 billion have been lost to the U.S. economy temporarily, and of that, $3 billion has been lost permanently. This is due to the U.S. government not being able to pay workers or make purchases during the shutdown. So without a single brick being laid, the wall has already cost the nation $3 billion. For more on this topic and on border security, I would once again like to turn to my panelists. We are once again joined by our panel with Nina Masosha, Sam Kefalinos, John Keenan, and Sean Thornton. So I'd like to start with the government shutdown. Do people think this was a successful tactic?
No. No. We lost $11 billion in the economy, which is
Definitely
like
successful.
even like I think that's like around half of what he was asking for. Like
Double.
Double.
yeah,
Double
I
what
meant
he's asking
that.
for. Yeah.
Whatever it was right.
Do you think a national emergency and using funding from that would be a better option?
No, I still don't understand why Congress doesn't fund it. I mean,
Well, because
all
he
the
said
expert-
Mexico is going to pay for it.
well, that's a campaign process, and that everyone's recognized that that's an unrealistic demand. But the Border Patrol and the agents down there, they say they need a wall, and Democrats are obviously just opposing this out of spite because they don't like President Trump. I mean, all the experts say we want a wall. Obama built more wall than Trump is asking for the Democrats to build. He built 320 miles. Trump's asking for 200. It seems like it's just spite at this
The
point.
Democrats did say that they would completely fund the wall if he brought the DACA program of like the Dreamers, and those people who were brought here illegally as children and had no rights when they were being brought over. And he said that, oh yeah, I'll bring it back temporarily when he wants the wall permanently. So I don't know, like if they.
Because that's not a fair trade. That's not fair at all. You would need DACA's amnesty, and we don't. If you want 200 miles of wall for amnesty of millions of not Americans, but people here illegally, that's not a fair bargain at all. You would need to, if you would want to do that, you'd have to change, maybe get rid of the visa lottery on top of that, maybe get rid of chain migration. Those, if you want to add those in and then say, okay, we'll do DACA and the wall too, that's fair, but you can't just, that's not
They just want
fair
the one
negotiating.
step right now, though, and they completely agreed to the wall, so it's not out of spite.
I don't think they obviously didn't agree for the wall because they filibustered the funding.
I think even if it was out of spite, it was not smart of Donald Trump to think he could have got his way with like either
Basically
way.
throwing
He
a
thought he
tantrum.
thought he was gonna get his way.
Well, he
And
would have got
Nancy-
his way if he didn't cave. That's
Yeah, well, he
I-
was going to
I
because there
believe
was no
it's
pressure
going-
on Nancy Pelosi to give in.
I think there was. There were a bunch
There
of
was a
moderate
bunch of-
Democrats.
No, but there was
voting.
pressure. Like there was pressure from other people, but he can't do anything to her. Like he is normally the one who's bullying all of the people below him, but he can't do anything to her to restrict her power. So she
Like,
was not pressured by him to give in.
I believe the funding bill only goes to I believe the second week in February.
Yeah, it's
So
only
it could
3
just-
weeks.
only
It's a
3
3-week
weeks.
funding bill.
Yeah.
And then it's going to shut down again if an agreement isn't reached.
Do you think that's likely?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
it's-
Either
Very
Trump's
much
going to
so
declare a
going
national emergency on that date, which he's not going to get his funding if he does.
Do you think he
Or-
does both?
No, I think he just,
He picks one?
to stay on message, I think.
Do you think a second government shutdown would be longer?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Longer than 35 days?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
if he shuts down the government again, he's not reopening it until he gets his wall.
And I think,
That's
yeah.
why I think it'd be shorter.
I think there's like, just, I mean, we've seen from multiple members of like Trump's area, there's like people around him don't really care about the shutdown because he surrounds himself with wealthy people, not working class people who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I mean, we've seen a handful of people say that it's, oh, well, why can't they just take out loans or, oh, like things like that, you know what I mean? And so he's surrounding himself with wealthy people who don't understand, and so I don't think he understands the effect of a shutdown on the working Americans' lives, and so he doesn't care how long it goes.
Well, we're talking about the people who aren't getting paid in government shutdown and aren't working, they're non-essential government workers whose job is to stick their nose in Americans' lives. I think this shutdown, in my opinion, it just showed why do we need all this government. I wasn't personally affected by it. The only real major effect that Americans felt about this shutdown was the TSA.
What
and
about
it
the
raised
food checks?
the food checks with the FDA. Did anyone die during the shutdown?
Not yet.
Not yet, yeah.
And the
'Cause-
next one, maybe.
No, because the FDA does little to nothing except forward just stupid policies like, I don't know.
But
They
the
don't know
TSA
that anymore.
The TSA, I want to
No,
go back to
they-
it because I think it is a big deal because it's not like they weren't working, they were working for free. I mean, obviously they're going to get back pay, but at the time they need their money like paycheck to paycheck. That's how they live, most of them.
Well, if you want to talk about the TSA, I think personally that they should be controlled by either the states or the local airports. It doesn't make any sense why they're controlled by the federal government.
Well, they
I mean,
are,
They're
though.
super inefficient. They've done studies in private companies that are contracted by the government are way more efficient than the TSA.
I mean, we can talk about like how efficient the TSA is and stuff like that, but the fact of the matter is it's controlled by the government and it's unfair to them that they have to be working while they're not getting paid.
Should government shutdowns be able to happen, or should funding just continue?
Yeah, they should be able to
Or-
happen.
I think, I don't know. I would say yes,
It's an abuse of
unless,
power.
I would say much less frequently than they have
Yeah.
been in
How
recent
is
years.
it abuse of power? It's
Well, all these people aren't getting paid because one person made a decision.
it's not one person. I mean, Nancy Pelosi could have easily, or no, not Nancy Pelosi, because the House passed a spending bill for his wall. It was Chuck Schumer who filibustered his $5.7 billion for his wall.
Yeah, but the people who aren't getting paid have no say in this.
They
They
just not
can
work for
call
the
their House representative and then coerce them.
What is that gonna do? Let's be real.
Well, if
It's like,
you get a
sure,
call,
we'll take a message,
if you get a call from
but we're closed
several
right now because of
hundred
the government
people,
shutdown. Next time. Sorry, you can keep talking.
well, if you get a call from several hundred people telling you to agree to this, then I think you would agree to it. When you didn't get a call from anyone that says, don't agree with this.
Yeah, but people don't really reach out to their congressman
Yeah, I
that
feel like
often.
people don't like.
That's
Just in general.
the
People are
people's,
lazy.
that's the people's fault.
It is the people's.
Do you think the wall is going to continue to be a campaign promise in 2020, or do you think it'll have been funded by then?
Ooh, that's if he doesn't get the funding, he definitely will, and he'll use it as a club against the Democrats. I feel like because they're obviously the ones blocking this at this point. It doesn't seem.
Honestly, I think if the wall doesn't get funded, it is gonna like boost his popularity because then he's gonna be able to go like campaigning saying they didn't fund the wall, like, and then it's just gonna become more of a controversial issue. I don't know. That's
I
just
feel
how.
like either way because he might lose
There's no
people.
there's
because-
no winning for the Democrats right now. If they don't block the wall, so if the wall passes, then he's going to use that to say that we got the wall, boosting his popularity.
Yeah.
And if the
Exactly.
wall
I mean,
does
it's a
not
good
go
thing
through,
for him either way.
He's gonna say
Yeah.
it's the
Except,
Democrats'
I mean,
fault.
Yeah.
if he doesn't get the wall, he might. I don't think it will be that many, but he might lose followers because they're like, he said he would do something and he didn't do anything. But like, I don't know. I feel like he might boost it because he'd be like, we can get it this time. I swear.
I just don't understand why it's such a big issue now as opposed to the first half of his presidency when he had control over all the branches.
Well, because the reason why is because Republicans in Congress had different priorities. They wanted to focus on tax cuts, which they did. Mitch
Right.
McConnell
Okay.
wanted to do like the judicial nominees and stuff like that.
Right,
it was
right,
just it wasn't a huge priority. You know.
Okay.
Well, that's all the time we have for. Now on to our third topic, Brexit. Brexit is the movement of the UK out of the European Union. This process began officially in June of 2016, although the campaign by both the Remain side and the Leave side began long before that. It looks to many that it may be coming to an end shortly. Earlier this year, a vote by the House of Commons set the hard leave date for March the 29th, 2019, now only a few short weeks away. The current issue with Brexit is that there is no agreed upon plan between the EU and the UK. The British Prime Minister, Theresa May, brought a proposed piece of legislation before the House of Commons. This vote failed 432 to 202, a margin of loss of 230 votes. This is the widest margin of loss in British Parliament history, breaking the previous record from 1921. A short while later, a vote of no confidence also failed to pass Parliament. So it seems that many members of Parliament want Brexit to happen, just not in the way negotiated by Theresa May. Many members of Parliament hope that the UK and the EU would hold yet another round of negotiations. However, the EU has refused point blank, basically leaving the UK with three options: a disastrous hard Brexit that would ruin the British economy, the deal already negotiated that no one wants, or to decide to stay in the Union and hold yet another referendum to see if this is a viable plan. That last option now seems more appealing for the British people, as recent polling numbers show that this would be most preferable by them. And now for a special report from Tom Olson.
Hello, my name is Tom Olson, and today we will be taking a look at the arrest of Roger Stone and the implications that it could have on the Trump administration. Early in the morning of January 25th, Roger Stone, one of Trump's campaign advisors in 2016, had his home entered by the FBI, and he was arrested on accounts of lying to Congress and obstruction of the Intelligence Committee's Russia investigation. Stone was recently indicted by a grand jury on the charges that came from the special counsel Robert Mueller. Mueller alleged that Stone had stolen emails from WikiLeaks that could damage Trump's opponents in the 2016 presidential election while in coordination with the senior Trump campaign officials. This is part of Mueller's larger investigation into the possibility of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia, and could provide more evidence that Trump was illegally working with the Russians throughout his campaign in 2016. Trump, when asked about the arrest, responded that he was very disappointed and was sad to see it go down that way. The arrest did cause outcry from the right, on the grounds that the 29 officers on scene were not needed and that the allegation that CNN was informed of the arrest beforehand so that they could film the arrest. CNN denies these allegations, and the FBI justified their use of force because they were fearful that Stone would destroy evidence if he were to run free. The question now becomes, what effect does this have on the Trump administration? To lay it out simply, this provides further evidence that there was in fact collusion between Trump and Russia during his campaign and will assist Mueller in his investigation. This is one of several arrests that have been made recently, most notably Michael Cohen. With each subsequent arrest, more evidence is gathered that the organization was completing illegal acts in an attempt to win the presidency. Trump, in regards to the issue, stated, "I could have ended everything. I chose to stay out of it, but I had the right to. As you know, I have the right, if I wanted to end everything." Reading through the jumbled thought that the president has, he sees as choosing to let the investigation go on, and he could stop it if he wanted. However, we know this isn't exactly true. Trump is bound by the risk of incriminating himself if he were to continually pardon people from his campaign as they were indicted by Mueller's investigation. However, with this administration, attempting to predict what will happen is rather unwise, and thus we will not make any more predictions as to what will happen. All that we should take away from this arrest is that yet another member of Trump's campaign has been arrested and indicted. Until next time, this is Tom Olson for Coasset Political Society.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for. I will see you later. Goodbye.